Hey, it's Wednesday. Welcome to the Leadership Toolkit. My name is Mike. I'll be your host. As you know, this is your definitive leadership growth podcast. And each week I have the opportunity to meet with absolutely phenomenal people from all over the US, all over the world, and have conversations. We talk about successes. We talk about sometimes some of those stumbling blocks, some of their failures, some of the walls that we've hit so that you don't have to run into the same walls, or that's the hope anyway. So today is no different. I have an absolutely phenomenal guest with us today. Her name is Ann McNeill. Ann is the master wealth builder. She's the founder of MCO Construction and Services Incorporated. She is the first African-American woman general contractor in the state of Florida. She has more than 40 years of experience that performs at the level that they do. She is an absolute rock star. I have to make sure and get that on there. And she's got more than 40 years experience building structures and building businesses. And now she helps build leaders. She helps build wealth. She helps build people up and create sustainable legacies through her coaching and her masterminds. I'm excited to get in and talking to her today, especially about masterminds. I think they're huge, and we haven't had a conversation on the show about that in a little bit. So, ladies and gentlemen, introducing now Miss Ann McNeill. Ann, thank you so much for spending time with me today on the Leadership Toolkit.
Absolutely. My pleasure. It's an honor to be here and share with you, Mike. It's exciting.
Absolutely. Well, if you would do me a favor, and we started talking just a little bit about your background, and I love the way you were like, hey, let me go grab this because I got to share this, and it's exciting. And so and the same, I'm engaged. I've read the same book many times and so forth. So if you wouldn't mind, take a few minutes here and share, what is your background? How did you get started? How did you come about in leadership? How did you get engaged in some of the things that you do in growing people, growing wealth, growing businesses? And we got all the time that you need. So.
Oh my goodness. I'm a graduate of Florida Memorial University, where I met my boyfriend, my husband, Daniel McNeill. And so that's over 50 years ago. But we were working in corporate in Palm Beach County after graduation. And we bought our home. Then we bought the house across the street, very young.
Mm-hmm.
And then we bought the house down the street. And before we knew it, we had 3 homes on the same street, knew absolutely nothing about construction. And during this time, December 31st, 1979, I picked up a copy of this book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, a version of it. And I began to read the book, and the book began to read me. And the author asked me 4 questions, but he gave me 6 steps to riches. That night, I realized that as I began to answer the question number 1, and I like to share this with everybody, he asked me, Ann McNeill, how much money do you want, Mike? And I had no idea. And this was the beginning of my journey into this industry, and also into the mindset shift that was required, that it is required in order to have a better quality of life in every area of my life. And so I sat down that night. My husband and friends left to go celebrate the new year. I was in such a bad place mentally. I couldn't go another night partying and having a good time when I knew that things were not well. I just didn't know they were that bad. So when the author asked me, how much money you want, I didn't have a number. I took whatever people offered me. And then I said, I would love to save $1,000, Mike. And I just didn't know how. Second question he asked me was, what would you like to do? Some kind of product or service? I didn't have a product or service. I had a good job. So I said, maybe I'll save the money. Third question he asked me was, by what date? I didn't have a date. I said, maybe next year, a year from now, December 31st, 1980. But when I got to question number 4, and he asked me for a plan, everything changed. I could not figure out how to save $1,000. And I sat there until 4:00 that morning when the door opened and my friends are coming in from celebrating New Year, and I'm crying because I realized that night I was broken, and I did not want to live like that anymore. The next morning I got up, I continued to read this book, and I came upon the Mastermind Principle. And let me fast forward 10 years later, I became the first Black female contractor in our state operating at the level that we do, focusing on these principles. And that, Mike, was the beginning of my journey.
That is one really phenomenal. And what I think is really cool is how you can pinpoint it. I think most of the time when you have that moment you have that mental shift. For people that have experienced that and been through that, you can look back and you say, hey, I had this moment, or I've asked a lot of people on the show, what changed, what made this happen? And some of them will have that moment but what I want people to hear you say here is the fact that you can really, really drill down and pinpoint it. You're offering these 4 questions here. You have taken the time, what I think, and you correct me if I'm off on this, Ann, but you've taken the time over time to actually really look back on that. You probably took the time at the time once you were making that shift to actually write those things down and really really lean into those. And I think that's something that's powerful for people, that you need to hear that when you're on this leadership journey and you start to see a shift and you start to see some movement. So often we get excited about where it's taking us and we get swept up in that, and suddenly you end up somewhere else and they go, well, how did that happen? You're like, gosh, I don't know. It happened back here, but I don't know exactly. But take the time to write those things down. Would you agree with that?
Not only do I agree, I will say that when I got to the principle of the mastermind, I started, the author said, identify, I start with 1, and then the 2 of you must be in agreement, I say, with the 3rd and the 4th. And we got up to about 10 people. But every single week, Mike, we met at 7 a.m. This was before platforms, before Zoom, Teams, Meets, all of these platforms, before all of this. This is about 1980. And when we first started the first mastermind group, Mike, not only did we write it down, but we met every single Saturday morning at 7 a.m. and we rotated each other's homes. But we asked each other those 4 questions every single week, year after year, week after week, and held each other accountable. It was rough, it was tough, but we learned how to start and run a successful mastermind group. And friends and family started saying, hey, what are y'all doing? What are you doing? You appear to be different. And each one of us started growing in our goals and learning how to achieve those goals. And we had one member became a judge, one set a goal to become a PhD, one became a principal, and each one of us slowly hit those goals. And that's when the light bulb really came on about this idea of goal setting. But it all starts with mindset first. And I think that, skill sets are, is different. But if you don't have the mindset to understand the need to do the inner work, if you will, then skill set won't get you as far as you could go.
I got to write that down because we're going to come back here. And if I don't write it down, I'll forget. Mindset versus skill. So a couple of things also that I want to point out, and we'll move on from this one. And I would encourage people, when you're listening to a podcast like this, when you're listening to a show, if you're listening, listen with the intent to learn. And I would listen with a pen or pencil in hand. I always do. I tell people, like I've already started, that this was the email printout that I got from you, but I'll fill this front and back and probably another page with notes as we sit and have our conversation today. So listen with that intent to learn and write things down. But your 4 questions, you said, how much money do you want? What do you want to do? By what date? And then what's the plan? Here's something I want to point out. That first question, and this is powerful. So often we will add this. It's how much money do you want to make? And you did not say to make. You simply closed at how much money do you want? Full stop, right? Now, the to make certainly can be added in there, and maybe I'm dissecting it too much as I listen to you, Ann, but it's one of those things. I think so often we think, oh, okay, well, how much money do I want to make? And then I got to do this, and we get wound up in sort of the semantics of it as people, and you miss. It's like, keep it that broader. Keep your mind open. Keep it much more broad. Hey, how much money do you want? And you need to, the other thing that I want people to hear that I think is so beautiful that you said, hey, when I was asking these questions, I couldn't define it. You've got to be definitive when you're goal setting on some of these things, when you're diving in. Hey, how much money do I want? What is the number? The number is not a lot. I really want to make a lot. I want to make tons. I want to make millions or billions or whatnot. There's something to be said about specificity.
Yes.
So
yes, and the other question he asked was, you have to put a specific date on it. And that's why I said I've built 5 businesses, Mike, from that one page. In my version, and this version is 28. I've written 3 books. Actually, I have them here. That's when I said I went to get
Yes,
the car.
please.
Yeah, because this is one of how to start and run a successful mastermind group along with a workbook. But 5 businesses from one page of this book, this Think and Grow Rich book by
So
Napoleon
powerful.
Hill. And I will tell you, it first started out with this International Mastermind Association. We didn't call it then. We just knew that I'm certified with the Napoleon Hill Foundation also. And we just knew that we were reading the book every single year, one principle per month. But we also started realizing that we didn't know anything about our spiritual life. One of the books we read is called Success, the Glenn Bland Method. And he took Napoleon Hill's book and he created 4 goals, a spiritual goal, a family goal, financial, and education. So we started with that. And then we would read something in each of those areas. And later on, we added up, the health goal, the personal development goal, your business goal, your career goal, your recreational goal, your civic goal, and then creativity. And we do that and we set goals, Mike, for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. I'm in my 45th year right now. And then on an annual basis, we held an annual meeting for your life. It's not a conference. And we asked everybody to bring their life in writing. There's no keynote speakers. There's no breakout sessions. Everybody just sit around a round table, 3 or 4 people, and you hold each other accountable for what you said you were going to do. And that's how we've used this process. It's been phenomenal.
That's wonderful. So if you would do me a favor, I already got 3 or 4 different directions and you just got to ride with me in because my brain goes like here and there and everywhere. So I'm going to try and keep us on track. One of the things we've talked a lot about, and you talked about, that mindset shift. Here's these four questions. How much money do you want? By what date? We got into that. We've talked a lot and you've brought up several times, hey, we held each other accountable to goals. Do you have a process for goal setting? Is it just whatever my heart desires? Or when we're saying goals, right? And in this case, let's keep it to, okay, here's the pitch. So you need to pick up the McNeill Factor workbook and that'll give you the full breakout.
Yes, but let me go back to your question.
Yes, ma'am.
We set goals in 10 areas. Because in the beginning it was all about the money. And then we realized what good is the money if your health is bad. And so for each category, we have 2 or 3 questions we ask. So for example, spiritual, we're not promoting any kind of religion. If you're atheist, be the very best atheist you can be. Okay? But if you worship anything, do you read about it? Do you spend time on it? That's it. That's the goal, whatever that means for you. If you're a family, one of our favorite books, and my favorite book is called 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families by Stephen Covey. One of the best books I think he ever wrote. 550 references in the back of the book. 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families. And one of the first things he said is that every family should have a family mission statement. Do you have a family mission statement? So that's how we set goals, and it's all documented, of course, in the books. But yes, that's how we track each other's goals, and it's personal to each person.
And can you show your book on the screen again?
Sure,
Where can people get that? So the McNeill Factor workbook, how to start and run a successful mastermind group. Where can people?
They can go to annmcneill.com and
Okay.
order the book, but they can also get it on Amazon too.
Okay. And I'll make sure and share a link to that because that, again, that's part of a much longer and broader conversation. So when we're talking about goals, here's another question that I want to ask and I want to get into masterminds here in a second too, because you said, hey, we had a mastermind. We're meeting every Saturday morning at 7 a.m. You had brought up, you said, hey, through this process, one person became a judge, one became a principal. You became a highly effective general contractor, largest in the state doing what you do. What do you do once you hit the goal? Once you've achieved the thing, what's next? You're muted. You're still muted.
Excellent question. Excellent question. I am in my 70s now.
Well, you don't look it, for one.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
When I started this, I was in my early 20s.
Okay.
And I could not see past a year. Definitely could not see 5 years. So we kept setting goals for 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, until I looked up and it was 15 years later.
Mm.
And then I realized I wrote a keynote speech called What Will You Do When You're 92? You see, the goal is to set long-term goals. Short-term goals, of course, that you're going to hit short term, but what's that long-term legacy leaving, life significant living that you're going to do? And that's where the larger than life vision comes. And for me, that's why starting the International Mastermind Association that will outlive me. That's why starting and being the founder of the National Association for Black Women in Construction that will outlive me. We're in about 20 cities right now. And so going to your question, that's what comes next, because I don't believe that God has blessed us with these struggles, challenges, problems, disguised, if you will, just for us. I think it's for us to document and share for others. So that's the larger vision for me.
No, that's a beautiful thing. One of the things that you said there too is it's important to share with others. I've heard it said, it's one of the best, and let me think of the way that it's worded. One of the best things in life is when you are able to find your purpose, and then even more powerful than that is when you're able to share it. Right. And it's a travesty if you found that purpose and you don't share it with others. Right. And so a couple of things too, because time gets away from me. I sit here and chat, and I take all these notes and I listen and learn. For the people that are listening, whether you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on Spotify, wherever you may be at, I've shown this stuff on the screen a couple of times. But if you want to connect with Ann, I'm going to start with her website, because she had brought up that book a few minutes ago, her workbook. You can check out annmcneill.com. It's ANNMCNEILL.com. And coaching, resources, speaking, pick up her book, check that out there. Also, her and I were talking beforehand. She's got a great YouTube channel. If you want to check her out on YouTube, it's just youtube.com/@ the @ symbol, Ann McNeill, ANNMCNEILL. So you can check those out. I'll share some more links as we're going through the show here and such. One other piece that you brought up, and you mentioned mindset versus skill set. Which is more important, mindset or skill set? And sort of, can you define that? I mean, I know what the difference, and it seems sort of self-explanatory, but can you break that out for everybody here?
For me, it's mindset.
Is more important?
I think mindset is more important.
And why?
I think mindset is more important because you can create a skill set. You can develop a skill set. But a skill set without the proper mindset will not take you far. A mindset with a developing skill set and a larger vision will take you anywhere in the world. But I think it starts with mindset, because if I can't see myself in construction, for example, being nothing but a laborer, I will never aspire to own my own business. I can have all the skills, but if my mindset is not in that place and space, it's not going to happen. But I can have the right mindset. That's what happened to me. I came into the construction industry knowing nothing, but I had the right mindset. And then I hired the guys that had the skill set. And the rest is my story.
That is a huge nugget of wisdom. I think so often, if I can jump in here, so often as leaders, we get into this space and we think, oh, I got put in this leadership role and I got to do all the things, right? And I've said this on many, many shows. We're up to about 120 shows on the Leadership Toolkit. And I've probably said this on 90 of them. Like, we get in there and we go, oh, I got to do all the things. But the reality, that's like the huge tidbit of wisdom. It's just so good that it's like, okay, you got to have the right mindset, and then hire the people with the right skill sets. Delegate tasks, delegate duties. It's one thing. And as the leader, as the manager, okay, you need to know some of it. You need to be able to have the knowledge at a C or D level, but then go hire an A player to do the thing. Right? So That's absolutely spot on. I love it. So if we can, one of the things that you brought up, and one of the topics I want to get into is certainly the importance of masterminding. So let's, for the rest of this show, let's sort of build on this. When it comes to a mastermind group, one of the things you brought up, you said you had started a mastermind group. You were meeting Saturdays at 7 a.m. It was pre-Zoom. It was you got up and you went to someone's house and you connected. And how did you, first off, how many people do you think are ideal for a mastermind group? How do you start? How did you start at that time? How did you decide who made the cut?
Well, I can only share what I actually did was
Yes.
I started with one person who was reading the book, and we decided to come together and begin to meet just on the 4 questions and the 5. It is called 6 steps, and I call it the McNeill factor business plan. And we every Saturday we would just discuss, how much do you want? Number 1. What are you going to do? Some kind of product or service you're going to sell to get that number. Number 3, by what date? Number 4, what is your affirmation statement? Number 5, are you willing to develop a plan of action? And this is where we really lived every Saturday, in that plan of action. And then number 6 is recite this affirmation twice a day. So we ended up within the first year with 10 individuals. And the 10 of us would rotate homes, and we would ask each other the questions. Now, if 8 was there, 7 or whatever number was there, we would sit and everybody knew you were going to be asked the questions. And in addition to that, we would read the same principle for the entire month from Think and Grow Rich. And we started reading other books, or articles. But what I'm finding over time, the best number for a mastermind group is the number. And this is, again, there are different types of mastermind. Let's clarify that.
Okay, please do.
First of all, what is a mastermind group? And for me, it is very simply a small group of like-minded and like-spirited individuals. Now, there are fee masterminds, which many of us are in, where we pay other people to be in their mastermind groups. And then there are free masterminds. And as the founder of the International Mastermind Association that I am, certified with the Napoleon Hill Foundation, focusing on the Think and Grow Rich principles, what I'm learning is that mastermind groups needed an association. So I created one called International Mastermind Association. Each mastermind group has a group leader. We propose a certain type of an agenda, ethics, agreement, different things that make that group tight. But before you can even start your group, you need to start with one person. The 2 of you must be in total agreement with the 3rd. The 3 of you must be in total agreement with the 4th, and so on. And it is not the big me and the little you. Everybody is equal in the group, which is why I suggest you should rotate the leader. You rotate the leader, change them out once a year or once a month or once a quarter, whatever works for the group. And this way, nobody feels heavy and laden down with the responsibility of the group. Now, what I'm referring to, Mike, these are free mastermind groups of family and friends.
Okay.
So if individuals want to start their own mastermind group, where you're charging people to be in your group and you're going to teach them a skill set or marketing tactics or these kinds of things, that's entirely different. What I'm talking about is a mastermind group for your life. And your life consists of the 10 different areas, and maybe some others or some less, that I'm referring to. And like I said, I've been doing this now since 1979. And we have done it so long that we have children that come back, and we also mastermind with the children. But when you talk about a certain number, Mike, it is agreed upon within that group. For example, I have one mastermind group that's almost 20 years old. There's only 3 of them. And it started with one guy who tried to mastermind with a bunch of guys, and it did not work. And out of frustration, he came to my home and he said, please, can you help me? Remember, this was before platforms and all of those things.
Right.
He came home and said, Ann, can you help me? And I said, sure, what's the problem? He said, sat out in front yard. And he said, listen, I've been trying to mastermind. I'm not sure I know what I'm doing. And I'm with these guys. And I said, well, part of the problem, right? He said, what do you mean? I said, normally, that testosterone thing, when you get more than two guys together, is a problem. I said, why don't you call this one lady? I gave him the name of a lady. Her name was Beatrice Lewis Saint. And she was already masterminding with a young lady called Angela Williams. The three of them have been together for 18, 19. This is make their almost 20th year. 20th year. And they are not interested in anybody else being in their group. It's just the three of them. And they meet literally every single week. And on a biannual basis, they have a biannual meeting for their life where they come together and they talk about, this is what we said we're going to do for the last 6 months. This is what we're going to do for the next 6 months. And then we all come together once a year, Mike, and we say in writing, this is what I said I was going to do in the different areas of our lives. And it has been phenomenal.
No, all that's really, I'm just sitting here taking all these notes and so forth. And so again, where my brain goes off, I'm like, okay, I got to stay on the path. Cause I want to, what happens is I want to ask like 5 questions at the same time, and I got to get one. So when you're talking about, I really like the fact that you brought up, okay, well, one of these is a mastermind that might be paid, that's sort of skill set. There's skill set and accountability where you're learning something, you're teaching something. And there's that, for lack of a better term, sort of a business growth mindset in that mastermind. And then you said versus a sort of life and accountability mastermind group. And so I like the fact that you defined there's differences in these mastermind groups. So let me ask you a question, because you brought up a few times, and it's the International Mastermind Association, correct? Is what you created. So is there a fee to be a member of that? It sounds like you provide some sort of, you just sign up, and then do you provide sort of curriculum?
Okay. There's no fee.
Okay.
There's no fee to be a member. My desire, and think about it like this, Mike, if you have a mastermind group with your family members.
Yes.
And your brother, let's say you have a brother and he has a mastermind group with a group of friends from work. And it's free. I mean, you all come together. And your sister, she's in a mastermind group with some friends from her church. So you have 3 groups. You're each creating what you think you should do in the group. There are no guidelines.
Sure.
Everybody comes with their own ideas, what they think. And so that's what happened to us after we got to about 30 different groups going years ago. And we realized that there needed to be an association for mastermind groups. And so taking the best practices from a lot of different places. I'm involved, like I said, with 50 different other associations.
Sure.
And we just looked at what are some of these best practices? And so we created an association for masterminders to be held accountable for their goals as a group.
Gotcha. So one of the other things that you brought up here was when you were talking about the affirmation statement and the accountability piece, because it's one thing where you start off and you say, okay, how much do you want? What do you want to do? By what date? You brought up then in the 6 steps in the McNeill factor, you said the McNeill factor business plan. So your affirmation statement, what's the plan? And you recite it. When you're getting together, when using that sort of format that you laid out, is it sort of round robin? Everybody goes through that? Were you guys and gals, were you, was the person whose home you were at sort of in the hot seat, or is everybody participating? That's one question. The second question is, what are the consequences if somebody doesn't do what they said they would do?
Can you see my face with my eyebrow going up?
I can. The question just pains you, Ann.
Oh, that was me. Oh, my goodness. That was me. And I have a story.
Yes.
So first, let me go back to answer your first question. Answer to the first question. Everybody must answer.
Okay.
no matter how long it takes.
So everybody's on the hot seat when
Every
you're meeting.
single, yes, every
Okay.
single person must answer. There's no getting away. None. No. And so I like to use this example. It's true story. And it's my story. I can talk about myself.
Yes,
We
please.
were meeting in my home on a Saturday morning, and I had said I was going to start a construction company. Every week I say I would start a construction company, but I would show up with no plan. And one Saturday morning, one of the members said, in my home, because we would rotate each other's homes, she said, I am so sick and tired of you. Now, she didn't really say it like that. She used some words I could not repeat on air. In my home.
And this is in your home or in her home?
It's
Just
in my
in
home.
your house.
That's why I remember so
Oh,
clearly
woo,
40 years ago.
okay. Okay.
But guess what, Mike? She was right. And I thank God for her every single day because she said this to me. Why don't you take a class? Can you see my finger? For those of
Mm-hmm.
you that's listening, and you can't see, I have a finger to my chin. I never thought about taking a class. She said, why don't you sign up for a construction class? But do something, but don't keep coming back every Saturday saying the same thing. You're going to start a business and, take a class. So naturally, by the next Saturday, guess what?
You were enrolled.
I was enrolled in that class. I went to a trade school, and while working on my master's degree, working in corporate, wearing a suit and stilettos every day. And I say this, I can talk about myself because I think that it is so critically important that you are surrounded by like-minded, like-spirited people who are willing to be honest with you. And so often we have people who surround us that just really want to placate and just say everything's okay. Everything was not okay. And if she had not done what she did, I may have taken longer to wake up to the calling. And so, yes, everybody's on the hot seat every single Saturday. And needless to say, because we would read also, oftentimes for me, that's why I laughed when you asked that question, because oftentimes on a Friday night before the Saturday morning meeting, I would be wee hours in the morning reading all of my commitments before I went to the meeting the next day.
So a couple things I want to hit on here that I hear that are pretty powerful. One, I know sometimes as I was going through the podcast, one, if I get it, I know that the audience will get it, right? And so when I repeat things in my own word and also, or in my own words, also if you have other stuff that you're like, oh, and this, but there's two things that really stand out to me here. And I think I've been guilty of this. And I think a lot of you listeners have been guilty of this, is we'll say we're going to do something over and over because we get told, well, you got to have a positive mindset. You got to put the affirmations out there. You got to put it out to the universe, right? When it comes to religion, if it's like, oh, well, ask and it shall be given to you, right? If you, all of these different angles. One of the things that Ann said, though, if you never take any action, nothing happens. So it's one thing to say it. It's a whole other, and to sort of dovetail on that, I love that it's something so simple when you're bringing up and you're like, why don't you take a class? The key is, what is the thing that you're doing to inch towards the goal? We assume, well, hey, like you were saying, I'm going to start a construction company. Well, okay, so 7 days later, is it going to be like construction company out of the box? No, of course not. Like, but I think a lot of times it's easy to wire. So I mean, like I said, I'm guilty. I've been like, oh, I'm going to do this thing. And you've got these visions of grandeur and you expect that it's going to materialize. And it becomes this heavy weight because in 3, 5, 7 days, 2 weeks, right? There's not anything moving, but part of it is because you're just not taking simple actions. You're not moving, right? And what's the saying? Like, we underestimate what we can accomplish in a year, but we overestimate what we can accomplish in a week or a month, right? So we think, oh, I'm going to start using your example. Hey, I'm going to start a construction company. Well, then a week later, like that can be a daunting task, right? It's one thing. Obviously, I mean, like clearly you did it. You did all these things, but that's that sort of linchpin, right? Of, well, why don't you take a class? Why don't you do something to move towards it? So I really like that's a very powerful share that you had there. I just the second thing that you said here, and I've had people in my life also. The second piece is you need to surround yourself with people that will be honest with you, and that is it's something that somebody that will be truly honest with you, even when they know that it's going to hurt your feelings. To me, that is something that's set out of love. Because it's like it's so easy to say, well, I just want an amicable relationship, or oh, hey, I'm in this. And what I'm hearing you say, Ann, is like, well, yeah, I'm in this mastermind, and yes, I want to propel myself forward, but if you've got 2, 3, 4, 5 people, whatever that number may be that it grows to, if you have a bunch of yes people, yes men and yes women, and they go, oh man, you're doing so good. Like, we're not in there to get the pat on the back. The whole reason, the goal of the mastermind, and I guess there's different goals, and you'll probably correct me on this one, but for me, one of the things that I hear, like the primary goals, is the accountability piece.
I was waiting for you to take a breath.
Sorry. I told you I got no shortage of words. So
the accountability piece, Mike, is the key. And what holds it all together is the spirit of oneness. And so I don't think she said it to be mean or mean-spirited. She was just honestly sick and tired of me not doing something and saying every week I was going to do X, and I did nothing but come back and say I was going to do something. And I'm so thankful. And this is one of the reasons why with my own coaching clients, I don't take it easy on them if I believe that they are me in disguise. And I just think back to what if she had not done that? And even in my home, and we're still close today. And so I think sometime, and you're absolutely right, even when we have coaching clients and business associates and employees, when we come from a spirit of love and they're receiving it differently, it may not be a good match. If you're coming from a place of love and they're coming from a place of love, then we're open to receive what the Spirit is bringing. Yes. But if either one of us are not coming from that place, that's why I share with my clients, when you start a mastermind group, be absolutely sure in your gut that that person is of like mind and like spirit. Now, there's some people in my church, we're like spirit, but we're not like-minded. There's some people in my business environment that we're like-minded, but we're not like-spirited. You only need one person, Mike. And the two of you, when you're in agreement with the third. And one of the things that you asked me about the International Mastermind Association, I'll share with your listeners. I host a free Zoom every Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern. And all I do is for 30 minutes, I just open myself up for questions and answers on how to start and run a successful mastermind group. Because I think that so many people are hurt, Mike, financially by paying people who they don't know, that the people don't know what they're doing. And then those of us who do know at least about these kind of mastermind groups for your full life. Now, if you're talking about masterminding, and I know, we're all in some kind of paid mastermind. This is not that. This is for your life.
No, that's great. And you said every Tuesday, 9:30 Eastern. And can people find that on your website as well?
Yes, they can find that by going to internationalmasterminders.com. You can also go to annmcneill.com.
Okay.
Now, I also like to give my number at some point. There's a text me number, and once an individual texts me, I also send the registration to them.
Yeah, please. What's the number?
And the number is 59925. You can text the number 59925, And in the chat, just text the word "and," that's ANN, and I'll send this information out to you. But I do that every single Tuesday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern on Zoom. And it's only about 30 minutes. And we also stream it live on YouTube. So if people want to go back and follow. But I just think that being able to understand what's the first step? What's the second step? What's the third step? What's the fourth step? And it is so critical. Can I share something else that kind of came out the mastermind?
100%. Yeah, please.
And this is why this is so powerful. We started our first mastermind group. Now we're going into the 15th year. And we set goals into each area. So one of the financial goals we each set was to save money. Then after a few years of saving, we realized that we really had not learned about investing. And so we were approached by someone who was a financial planner, and we just had the mastermind group of 10 of us. And this individual shared with us about, investing in the market and all of this. And we each came up with some money and gave the person individually this money.
Sure.
Well, by now I saved my money. I came out of debt and I was starting to save money and paid off my bills and things. And I saved up, it was a lot of money to me. It was $15,000, which is a lot of money during that time. And I gave it to the person, never see the money again, never to see the money again. Can I say that again? Never to see the money again. And when I realized that I was going to never see that money again, I was upset.
Sure.
You want to know who I was upset with?
I mean, I would have been upset with him, but I think you're going to give a different answer.
I was upset with him, but I was more upset with myself. You want to know why? I have an undergraduate degree in accounting. I have a master's in finance. And I realized that I had been taught and trained how to manage other people's money, but not my own.
Ooh.
Exactly. And so as a part of our mastermind group, we decided to read something about investing. So the first book we read was The Millionaire Next Door. In that book, it shared a story about some ladies who had beat the market, and they were a part of an organization called the National Association of Investment Clubs. And so we decided to contact the organization and find out how could we start an investment club. And we started our first investment club. It became so successful that I became a volunteer with this organization called the National Association for Investment Clubs. And in my church, we formed over 20 different investment clubs. But now let me fast forward. My youngest daughter, Ann McNeill, at the time was in the second grade.
Okay.
I started taking her to the meetings. She retired at 30 from investing. She just left today. She sits on the national board for that organization now. It is now called Better Investing, and we're all volunteers. And it's a free membership. You can go to betterinvesting.org. But I'm sharing that because that would have never happened if that man had not taken that money. And we decided to start our first investment club. And then we helped others start their own clubs. And then we became involved as volunteers nationally. And so when you stop and think about the benefit and value of a mastermind group, that's one of the benefits that came out of there for us.
When you said, I heard so many good things come out of that. And at first, when you're saying, oh, hey, I invested this money never to be seen again, it's easy to be mad at the other person, but talk about truly looking for the silver lining. And I know I was off screen, but literally when you were saying, hey, my daughter started attending and you said second grade and retired at 30, I got the goosebumps because you're right. She would have never had that experience. You would have never had that experience to pass on to her had this bad thing not happened. And I think we can get so caught up in the bad things that you lose sight of that. It was like you were saying earlier. And one of the things that I thought is sit here and I think, well, if we're constantly looking out, this is our model of the world, right? This is what I see. This is what I'm taking in. This is what I see. This is what I hear. Sometimes you got to get outside of yourself and out of your own way to walk around to the other side. And that's why, when you said your friend even earlier said, she looked at you and said, hey, you got to knock this off, stop doing this. It's because she's got a different view of you. And it's so easy for people on the outside to see all the potential and all the hope and all the things in us while we're not feeling that for ourselves. And so, like, I think that's really cool that it's like, okay, I took this crummy experience, but look at all the good that's come from it. Now, retired at 30 years old. That's amazing.
But I want
Absolutely
to go back
amazing.
to a question you asked, the
Yeah.
statement you said about the bad thing. See, in retrospect, was it really a bad thing?
Well,
Whoa,
no.
wait.
I mean, it was at the time.
Well, but not really. Let me tell you something. If
Yeah,
can
yeah.
I share? Can I share?
Absolutely.
When we learn again, and you hit the nail on the head, when we learn to go inside and ask, what are you, this relationship here,
Mm-hmm.
spiritually? What are you trying to teach me about me that I need to work on? So when we read The Millionaire Next Door, we also read The Automatic Millionaire by David Bach.
Mm-hmm.
We also read every book he wrote. We also started reading Susie Orman's books and everything she wrote. And by doing that, we began to amass this level of knowledge that then helped me to understand that money that I gave to him was an investment in my future.
I love that
I no
framing.
longer saw it as an expense. I saw it as a blessing. Now, I will confess, I am human. It took me
Sure.
years of inner work. It took me years. And every time his
Yes.
name would come up, I would go there and I would quickly say, I would bless him. That's not easy to do.
Not
When
at all.
people intentionally, despitefully use you, it does not mean you have to internalize that as the way they sent it. And so that is just very empowering. And I do a lot of self-talk.
I can tell. Well, and people need to hear that. Like, listen to the framing. It's the same action, the same interaction, right? Money taken down the drain, right? So to speak, right? Or money. Let's just say it that way. I don't want to say
Money
down the drain
invested in my
because that,
future.
right? Hey, but here's the thing. This money is gone. So how was it gone? Was it gone because it's down the drain and taken, or was it gone as an investment? Like either what's your framing? So that I'm trying to be careful in the way that I word that. Um, so a couple things as we're kind of coming to the tail end here, and I'll ask you for some final thoughts here in a minute. I'm going to hit all of these links if I may. So first off, and I'm so appreciative that you shared this, Ann. She said you can text Ann to 59925 if you're interested in getting information on her Tuesday 9:30 Eastern Zoom call on Mastermind. She said you can go to internationalmasterminders.com as well. You can check out her website, which would be annmcneil.com. So that's ANNMCNEILL.com. I always spell those out in case you're listening on an audio platform. So you can check that out later. Hopefully that helps commit it to memory. You could connect with Ann on LinkedIn. It's LinkedIn, the /in/ if you look up Ann McNeill, here's what's crazy. I'm connected with another Ann McNeill. And initially when you had booked, it was so funny. I thought it's a mutual automotive friend. And then I went and glanced, and when I pulled up the website, I was like, "Oh, here's Ann McNeill, Wealth Builders or Master Builder, right?" So you can connect with Ann McNeill, Master Builder. That's all one word. If you type that in your URL on LinkedIn. And last but not least, we discussed it ahead of time, and probably where many of you are watching this right now on YouTube, youtube.com/Ann McNeill, also spelled the same way that I've spelled several times. So lots of ways to connect with Ann. She's, man, you are awesome. I mean, just such a wealth of knowledge. And I love the fact that just some of the things you've leaned into and the mindset, and it's really, core principles. It's one of those things that sometimes you don't have to get all we try and come up with like our own path, and we got to get all fancy and we got to do all these things. And it's like, no, sometimes you just need to be reminded of those things that you forgot. Here's these good principles and here's what you got to do. So, Ann, any final thoughts you'd like to take us out with today?
Absolutely. Absolutely. My most recent book is entitled You Must Have a Dream to Have a Dream Come True.
Oh, I
And
love that.
it's such an easy statement to say. But when you really stop and think about, for each of your listeners, what's most important to you, but also who is most important to you. And when you think about having a dream in each area of your life for the balance of your life, short term and long term, I would just challenge each of you to think about, what does that look like spiritually, family wise, financially, and so on. So at the end of the day, just remember, you, yes, you must have a dream to have a dream come true.
I love that. Thank you so much, Ann. If you would hang out for just 1 second, I'm going to go ahead and take us off the air. So just absolute wealth of knowledge. I really appreciate you, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
So, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to bring us to a close for another episode of the Leadership Toolkit with my new friend, Ann McNeill. Man, what an awesome woman. What a wealth of knowledge. And I love that she leans into mindset. She leans into solid principles when it comes to, personal growth, leadership growth, business growth, all of these different dimensions that she's mentioned. So I would encourage you a couple of things. If I can have a couple of asks today, folks. One of the ways that we help, trigger the algorithm, one of the ways that the show continues to grow, is if you'd please share the show, throw some thumbs up on it, whatever platform you're watching or listening from, whether it's YouTube or Spotify, Amazon, iTunes. The Leadership Toolkit is on all the different places. So if you would please make sure and throw some thumbs up on there. Secondly, and most importantly, we talk about growing ourselves and growing the people around us. One of the best things that you can do, if you know somebody that would gain some knowledge from this, if you know someone that needs to hear the show, if you know someone that wants to start a mastermind group but didn't know where to start, please share this show directly and deliberately with them. It's one of the best things you can do for people is be deliberate. Hey, I was listening to this show and I think it would be impactful to you. So share it with them. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in another Wednesday on the Leadership Toolkit. I look forward to seeing you again soon. And until then, stay great. Talk soon, everybody.